I never thought I'd be that guy, the one who gets blindsided by his own wife. Emily and I had been together for 8 years, married for 5. I always thought we had a solid, if not perfect, relationship. Sure, there were fights, but mostly we were happy, or so I thought. We have a pretty normal life, 2 kids, a good job, a house in the suburbs. Emily is the kind of woman who loves to keep up appearances. She's charming, a little bitchy when she doesn't get her way, but generally sweet enough. She's also the type who can lie with a straight face and make you doubt your own eyes. That was her superpower. Looking back, there were little signs. She started acting distant about 3 months ago. She'd try to brush off my questions, say she was stressed at work, or she'd suddenly have plans without telling me. Little things. Then she started wearing different clothes, more revealing, more flirtatious. At first, I thought she just wanted to spice things up, or maybe she was secretly feeling bored. I tried to talk to her about it once or twice, but she dismissed me with a laugh, telling me I was imagining things, that I was paranoid. But I was. I knew something was off. Still, I kept telling myself maybe I was overthinking it. Until last Christmas. That's when everything exploded. I was away on a business trip when I got a text from one of Emily's friends, Sarah, asking if I knew what Emily and her best friend Jenna were planning. I was confused because I didn't even know Sarah well, but I responded out of politeness. That's when she dropped the bomb that Emily had been cheating with Jenna for months, starting last Christmas at the family cabin. She said Emily and Jenna had been sneaking around behind my back, and she'd seen them together at the cabin, kissing, touching, things I'd never even imagined my wife capable of. I didn't know what to think. My stomach dropped, my hands started shaking. I called Emily immediately, but she didn't answer. Instead, I sat there staring at my phone, trying to process what I just learned. That entire day, I kept thinking about everything I'd seen, everything I'd ignored. Why would she do this? How could she lie to me for so long? The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, turned out to be the biggest liar of all. When she finally came home that night, I was waiting in the living room. She looked surprised, but her face quickly turned cold. She told me she was tired, that I was overreacting, that Sarah was jealous or mistaken. She spun these stories, lying blatantly, trying to deny everything. I remember asking her how she could betray me like that, how she could lie so easily. She just shrugged, looked me in the eyes, and told me I was paranoid, that I was jealous and insecure. That's when I saw her for what she really was, a manipulative, selfish woman who would do anything to keep her secrets safe. That night, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I was angry. I was hurt. I was betrayed beyond anything I'd ever experienced. I thought about confronting her then and there, but I didn't want to fall apart in front of her. Instead, I just sat there, silent, trying to figure out my next move. That was the moment I realized my life was never going to be the same. After that night, I didn't sleep much. My mind was racing with questions and a bitter mix of emotions: anger, sadness, betrayal. I kept replaying the moments I missed, the signs I ignored, the times I trusted her even when I felt something was off. All those little things suddenly made sense in a terrible, twisted way. The way she brushed me off, the way she avoided certain topics, the way she kept her phone hidden. I started to see how she carefully constructed her lies and how she managed to keep me in the dark for so long. The worst part was knowing that she still lied to my face every day. She'd come home acting like everything was fine, like she was the perfect wife. She'd make me dinner, flirt a little, then go to bed early, pretending she was exhausted. Meanwhile, I knew the truth. I knew she was out with Jenna, probably just hours before, sneaking around, doing things she knew I'd never approve of. It was like I was living with a stranger. I felt numb one moment, then furious the next. I wondered how she slept at night, knowing what she'd done. I decided I couldn't just let this go. I needed to know everything, to get proof, to understand how deep this betrayal went. So I started paying closer attention. I checked her phone when she wasn't looking, went through her social media. I found messages, photos, even voice notes where they talked about their plans, laughing about how they'd keep me in the dark. I saw her tell Jenna she hated hiding things, but she loved the thrill, the secrecy. I saw her brag about sneaking around behind my back, about how I was too naive to see it. One particular text message in her inbox was like a punch to the chest. Jenna had told her she was coming over that night, that she'd bring wine and they'd have some fun. I couldn't believe it. My wife was planning sex with her best friend behind my back while I was at work thinking everything was normal. That's when I finally realized I was just a fool to trust her. She had been manipulating me the entire time, playing the perfect wife to cover her tracks. I started to feel a mix of disgust and heartbreak. How could she do this to me, to our family? I felt stupid for not seeing it earlier, for not realizing how cold she had become, how distant. I remember feeling this strange combination of betrayal and relief. Relief that I finally knew the truth. Betrayal because I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so stupid. The woman I loved had been lying to my face, cheating, planning her next move with her best friend. The emotional toll was relentless. I didn't know whether to be furious or broken, and honestly, I didn't care much about the latter. I was just furious, boiling with rage at how she'd used me, lied to me, and turned our marriage into a complete lie. That was the moment I decided I had to do something. I couldn't just let her get away with it. I needed a plan. I needed to make her understand that I wasn't some fool she could walk all over. Whatever happened next, I knew I wouldn't be the same. The next few days were a blur of planning and trying to keep my emotions in check. I couldn't just confront her blindly. I needed proof, a way to make her see I wasn't just some insecure husband throwing accusations. I started recording her every suspicious conversation, every lie she slipped up on. I took screenshots of all the messages, saved everything I could find. I knew I had to be smart, or I'd end up losing her completely if I jumped the gun too soon. One evening, I decided to follow her. I didn't tell her I was onto her. I just wanted to see where she went when she said she was working late. She left the house around 8 p.m. and I followed her from a safe distance. She drove to a small, nondescript hotel on the edge of town. I parked a few blocks away, watching her walk inside. My heart was pounding. This was real. She was really doing it. I felt sick but also strangely relieved. Now I knew the extent of her betrayal. Over the next few days, I gathered even more evidence. I found out she'd been meeting Jenna at that hotel, sometimes multiple times a week. They would spend hours there, talking, kissing, doing who knows what. I also overheard a neighbor mentioning that Emily had been sneaking out late and lying about where she was going. Every detail only confirmed what I already suspected. It was like I was living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I was furious, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I needed to confront her, but I had to do it with everything in my favor. I couldn't let her spin another lie, not this time. I made a decision. I was going to catch her red-handed, then lay everything out on the table. I wanted her to see that I knew, that I had proof, and there was no escaping it. One night I set up my phone to record her coming home late. I waited in the dark, heart pounding, just hoping my instincts were right. When she finally pulled into the driveway around midnight, she looked nervous. I watched her silently from the shadows as she hurried inside, clutching her purse tightly. That's when I saw the telltale signs, her nervous glances over her shoulder, the way she tried to hide her phone behind her back. She'd been caught at last. The next morning, I sat her down. I had everything on my laptop, everything I'd collected. I played her the recordings, showed her the pictures, the text messages. Her face turned pale, then flushed with anger. She spat out lies, accused me of spying, of being paranoid. She claimed I was imagining things, that she was innocent, that I was overreacting. Her words felt hollow, just more lies, more manipulation. I saw right through her. She was trying to gaslight me, to make me doubt myself. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. I looked her in the eyes and told her I knew exactly what she'd been doing. That she had been unfaithful, not just once but repeatedly, with her best friend Jenna. I told her lies didn't matter anymore. I was done pretending I didn't know. Hearing her squeal and deny everything only fueled my anger. I wanted her to understand how much she had hurt me, how broken I felt inside. That was the moment I realized I couldn't keep living like this, not in a marriage built on deception. I knew I had to decide what to do next. After laying everything out on the table, I watched her face twist with rage and panic. Emily's eyes darted around, searching for a way out, for some kind of lie that could fix this. But I Wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out of it anymore. I kept my voice steady, telling her that I never wanted to see her again if she continued down this path. She tried to spin it, to blame me for not trusting her, claiming I was paranoid and crazy. That's when I saw her true colors, the bitchy, selfish side that I had tried to ignore for so long. She started crying, her voice rising, trying to guilt-trip me into forgiving her. "You don't understand," she snapped. "I was lonely and Jenna made me feel alive again. We didn't mean to hurt you. It was just sex. It's not like I love her or anything." She looked at me with that fake, manipulative smile as if she thought she could just sweep this under the rug, but I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. The emotional pain was overwhelming. I felt crushed, betrayed beyond what I thought was possible. For days, I couldn't eat or sleep. My head was full of her lies, her betrayal, that horrible feeling of being so stupid for trusting her all these years. But amidst the anger, there was also a strange sense of clarity. I realized I had to make a choice, stay and try to fix something that was clearly broken beyond repair, or walk away and start over. I knew deep down that staying would only mean more pain, more lies, more betrayal. I took some time to think, to process what I was feeling. I talked to a few close friends who told me I deserved better, that I shouldn't stay with someone who could cheat and lie so easily. I also thought about the kids, whether I should just leave and try to keep things civil for their sake. But honestly, it was hard to imagine living in the same house as her after this. Every corner, every room would remind me of her lies. I couldn't stand the thought of pretending everything was okay anymore. Finally, I decided I needed to get out. Not so much for her, but for me. I called a lawyer, started organizing my things, and told her I was moving out. Her protests were weak. She tried to guilt me again, accused me of overreacting. But I was done listening. I couldn't stomach the idea of staying in a marriage built on such deception. I wanted my life back. I wanted to be free from her lies and manipulation. That night I packed a bag and left. The house was eerily silent as I closed the door behind me, knowing I wouldn't be coming back anytime soon. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, but I knew it was the right one. Watching her face as I walked out, I saw the true extent of her selfishness. And deep inside, I felt a flicker of hope that maybe someday I'd be able to put this nightmare behind me and start fresh. Living apart from Emily was like stepping into a different world. At first, I felt numb, shock, and relief battling inside me. I stayed with a friend for a few weeks, trying to get my head straight, but every day was a reminder of her betrayal. I couldn't help but think about the times we shared, the future I thought we had, and how all of it had been a lie. It wasn't just the betrayal itself. It was the fact that she had bullied me into silence, had lied so convincingly, and had played with my feelings like a game. After a while, I started to realize that while I was devastated, I was also angry. Angry at her for cheating, yes, but also angry at myself for ignoring the signs, for trusting her blindly. I felt stupid, embarrassed even for not seeing it sooner. But I also knew that harboring resentment wouldn't help. I had to confront this pain, accept it, and find a way to move forward. I decided I wouldn't let her win by breaking me completely. I began therapy, trying to work through all the emotions, the heartbreak, the anger, the betrayal. It was a long process, but it helped. I learned to forgive myself for not noticing sooner, for being naive, and I slowly began to rebuild my confidence. I also started focusing on my kids, making sure they knew they were loved and supported, even if everything else in their lives seemed to be falling apart. It was important for me to be strong for them, to show them that life could go on, even after such a devastating betrayal. Meanwhile, Emily tried to reach out a few times, sending texts, calling, begging for forgiveness, claiming she was sorry that she'd changed. I ignored most of it. I wasn't interested in her apologies. I knew her well enough now to see that she was still the same manipulative person, just trying to save her own skin. I told her to leave me alone, that I needed time and space to heal. I didn't want her drama or her lies anymore. I wanted peace, something I hadn't had in a long time. In the process of healing, I also started to reflect on what I wanted from life. I realized I'd spent so many years putting her first, sacrificing my happiness for what I thought was a good marriage. Now I saw things clearly. I deserved honesty, respect, and someone who wouldn't cheat on me or lie to my face. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I wasn't going to stay in a relationship where I was constantly betrayed and bullied into silence. Eventually, I started dating again, cautiously. It's scary putting yourself out there after you've been betrayed so deeply, but I learned that I was stronger than I thought. I was determined not to let this destroy me. I wanted to rebuild my life, piece by piece, with honesty and integrity at the core. I still get angry sometimes, and I still think about what she did, but I refuse to let her define my future. The lessons are harsh, but they made me realize what I really want and what I won't tolerate anymore. Looking back now, I realize that this whole nightmare taught me more about myself than I ever wanted to know. I learned that betrayal cuts deep, but it also reveals how resilient you can be when everything you thought was solid suddenly crumbles. I won't lie and say I'm perfectly healed. There are still nights when I wake up angry, when I wonder how she could have done this to us, to our family. But I've also found a new sense of clarity. I refuse to let her betrayal define my happiness or my future. One thing I've come to understand is that trust, once broken, is incredibly hard to rebuild. But more than that, I've learned that I shouldn't have been blind to the signs. I should have listened to my instincts, trusted myself more. I also know that I can survive this kind of pain, that I can come out stronger on the other side, and I want others to know. If you're in a similar situation, don't ignore the signs. Don't let anyone bully you into silence or make you feel guilty for feeling betrayed. Your feelings are valid and you deserve honesty and respect. As for Emily, she's still trying to reach out, but I've made it clear I'm done. She can lie and manipulate all she wants, but I see her for who she is now. I've moved on emotionally, and I'm focusing on rebuilding my life, on being a better father, a better man. I won't let her actions ruin me. Instead, I use what I've been through as a reminder. Never settle for less than honesty, never ignore your gut, and never allow someone to bully you into silence again. There's a certain freedom in finally accepting the truth, no matter how painful it is. I've learned that the only way forward is through honesty with myself and being true to what I need. Love, respect, and trust are earned, not forced, and I refuse to be a victim of betrayal any longer. I'm taking my power back one day at a time. So if you're reading this and going through something similar, my advice is simple. Face the truth, no matter how ugly it might be. Protect yourself from manipulative people and don't be afraid to walk away if that's what it takes. You deserve better, and eventually the pain will fade. You'll find your way again, stronger and wiser than before. That's what I've learned from all of this. And I hope it helps someone else out there too.